are live.
You're Casey's wife, right?
All right. Good evening, my dear friends and relatives, and welcome to this week's edition of Good Medicine Way. Today is Monday, August 28th, 2023, and we look forward to hearing from our brother, Dennis Bailey tonight. Yes, it's going to be very, very amazing, eh? We are so pleased and thankful that you are able to join us tonight and spend your Monday just being close with relatives and with Creator. So it's very, very awesome. So Mike Taguvin, Duayak, Monika Veni, Muni Faminok, Halmi Dakyapi, Lam Pautuki, Yushkiana, Pechi Uzapi, Lewatiki Dayamani, Piana Diaglape, Noah Kitaru. My name is Umpere Daka, which means white star in the Pawnee language. I will be your MC for this evening, and I am zooming in from the ancestral homelands, or the ancestral cross sections of the Caddo, Comanche, Kiowa, Osage, and Owichitan nations here in present-day Oklahoma. Good Medicine Way comes to you from the homelands of the Tiwa or Pueblo people in Albuquerque, New Mexico. It is also the stomping grounds for the Dene, Apache, and Nuchu or Ute people. I would like to, or I greet you all with a very warm hug. I also would like to send a special welcome to all of our new relatives. Wherever you may be joining us through Zoom, Facebook, or YouTube, it's truly great to see you all, and I am so glad and so blessed that you are here with us. So, with that, I will be handing it over to Preston Jones for our opening and directional prayer. So go ahead and take it away, Preston.
Thank you, Umbadaka. Again, I'll be using the smudging as for directional prayers again. Hi, everyone, and hi up there. Leia, can you repeat the directions for each one again?
Sure, the sweetgrass is south, and the tobacco is east, the sage is west, and the cedar is north.
Okay, thank you. Opposite?
Got my handy dandy.
Sure.
Either way.
All right, we're going to start over here.
Let's go to the
Cedar, sage, sweetgrass.
Okay, thank you.
Male, female.
Tobacco east.
What's going on here?
We come to you. Thank you, Lord.
See that?
Hold on, we lost the Zoom. It looks
Slide
like.
for each.
No.
I think we lost our Zoom connection.
Let's see.
Oh no.
Are you guys over there?
YouTube looks like it's still going.
Now Zoom crashed, I think.
Oh,
I
maybe.
see you all.
No, we're still here.
I see you.
It says you are viewing Karen Johnson's screen.
Oh, thank you, Dave. I didn't think I forgot about that.
Okay.
Did I undo it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just put the tobacco on.
Okay.
Heavenly Father, thank you for allowing us to be gathering here today. Thank you for allowing us to be in this moment. Thank you for this beautiful sunrise today and having us start this great moment. Being able to spend time with the plants, being able to spend time with the animals this morning, and expanding that to our meeting today. Let's virtually cover our love. We are in every part of the different parts of the nation. Let's have our love be a blanket for the come to the south with sweetgrass. That one says, okay.
Potawatomi one is joy.
This is the fun thing about having an intern travel. Myself inside me wants to listen to my auntie and say, because she's also native, so I'm gonna go with. So with Cedar, we come to the south. We come with the great aroma of the day, the heat, allowing ourselves to be one, allowing ourselves to be restful with you, and having our soft minds always be in moments of change throughout the day. With the sage, we are with thinking from Joe, it's just so smelling beautiful. We are thankful to come to the east, to the west, I mean. To the west of sunset, as we allow ourselves to learn from the things of the day, learn from the things of the speaker, learn as we talk from the talk and as we calm ourselves moments. With the north, I used sweetgrass to calm our minds, to calm our hearts, to remind ourselves that the day does end, but we are not, it does not end ours. We continue to learn, we continue to look forward to every moment. Bitter and sweet, how we're all braided together, and how we can come back together and help one another. Thank you for allowing us to come together and be here, and thank you for joining us. In your great, great name we pray. Amen.
All right. Thank you, Preston. Thank you. That was very beautiful. Very beautiful. I really enjoy how you take the time and light all the various ways of smoke. Yeah, that's very beautiful. But okay, the next thing that we will be doing is we will be going into a song led by Leah and Brian Grover. So I'm very excited. I want to know. I want to feel the melody and feel the spirit going through. So go ahead and take it away, Grovers.
All right.
It's a newer Jonathan Miracle song called We Are One.
You way
Thank you so much, Grovers, for that really beautiful, beautiful song. Sorry, I feel like I'm getting ahead of myself. But yeah, that was amazing. Yeah, so the next part that we'll be going into is This Week in Native Nations, but I'm not 100% sure if that's what's going to happen, because I believe that the person that we were waiting for is not here today. So what do you think we should do, Casey?
Yes, I can fill in right there. I have some thoughts. I know Jakai, he's our brother from Hawaii, and I'd like to say, something that I just feel on my heart because I seen a video today. We took a trip there not too long ago. Took the whole family to Hawaii, been to Maui, and Big Island, and got to enjoy a lot of that beauty that was there. Funny thing is that when we were there, we look like them there. So people always say, "What island you're from?" And so we would say, "We're from Turtle Island." So we got our little connection with some of the people. But what really touched my heart this week, I was watching a program, and we don't think about all the devastation that is happening to the children's lives that this program brought out. Is that they got no home, they got no school, they don't know when school is going to start again. They got no activities because they're living in shelters or staying in hotels and wherever they're at. This program that was there would take as many youth as they could get, and it would take them out to the beach, and they were just letting them frolic and play, but they were also teaching them what many of them already know is how to surf. So they were just having the greatest time going back to the beach, but not at the beach that they, was part of their home and their life there. So let's pray for them as we think about all of the devastation to the land and also to the lives that were changed. I just wanted to share that.
And just a tiny bit to add on to that, it's also Queen Liliuokalani's birthday this coming Saturday. So yeah, just as you're praying this week, she was a Christian lady, great leader. She was the last sovereign leader of the Kingdom of Hawaii before the U.S. annexed Hawaii, and so she was a great person. So yeah, just a model of strength and dignity. So just as you're praying, you can remember her as you're blessing all the folks in Hawaii. New creators, that's all for that.
Okay, all right, good to know. We are praying for our Hawaiian ohana. We're praying for them. So but yeah, it's really scary to know that that all this stuff had happened, and that there was a lot of devastation and everything. And I want to thank you, Pastor Casey and Leah, for sharing a little bit about that. So yeah, let's pray for our ohana over there. So okay, the next part that we're going into is the Lord's Prayer, First Nations version. Is there a certain way that we will be doing this, Brian?
I think tonight we're going to do it like we did last week, where I'll just read it, and I'll try not to read it as fast as I did last week, and we'll all try to keep up with the sign language, and then probably next week starts the beginning of a month. So next week we'll go back we'll read it, and then we'll go through the sign language more slowly, so that once a month we have a sign language focused one, but the rest of the time we're trying to sink or swim on our own a little bit. So yeah. So hopefully you guys can all. Hopefully Lee Maku is all in your guys' screen somewhere, so you can see her. And so here we go. O great Spirit, our Father from above, we honor your name as sacred and holy. Bring your good road to us, where the beauty of your ways in the spirit world above is reflected in the earth below. Provide for us day by day the elk, the buffalo, the salmon, the corn, the squash, and the wild rice. All the things we need for each day. Release us from the things we have done wrong. In the same way, we release others who have done wrong to us. Guide us away from the things that tempt us to stray from your good road, and set us free from the evil one and his worthless ways. Aho, may it be so.
Hey, we're getting better.
You gotta
I am.
Slow it down 2 times.
Yes, yes. We're speed running, eh? Speed running it, eh? Yes, that was very beautiful, everybody. Great job, great job. We're getting this, eh? All right. So the next segment that we are going into is our smoke signals, our announcement time. So like in the old days when our tribes used to live in their bands and in their camps and wherever that they were far away from one another, the smoke signals was the way for our people to speak with one another. So in this way, they did their announcements, like when there was war, when people were going to get married, or there was some big celebration. Hey, this is that time for us, the smoke signals and giveaway time. So go ahead and take it away, Leah.
Can't hear you.
Yeah, pretty good.
How about now?
Brian was busy, sorry.
Am I good? Okay. All right. Yes. So for the first smoke signal, all the ladies are invited to come at 7 p.m. Mountain Time to our book discussion of Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. So yes, it's at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and you go to the Good Medicine Way Facebook group. At the top left, you click on Browse and then Events, and it'll be there. And do we also have a representative from the men's?
I guess I can speak to it. Yes, I believe, we meet on the same day as the women meet. And I meet when I can. I've been traveling a lot and haven't been able to connect. But I believe it is this week that Randy Woodley is going to be joining the group. So invite you to join us too, if you're able to, at that time. Yeah, and here's the book that we've been doing. It's very, for me, it's very triggering. So it is a very good book to read about connecting with mission and work with Native people, about the way the church came to us. So a very, very good book. And Randy is so good at bringing those topics out. So that's going to be happening. We're getting to the end of this book, and we're looking at a couple other books. And one thing that we're talking about is that we'd like to open it up not just to a men's group, but to a book group. So if men and women can be a part of this group. But if you're on that the women's night, we're thinking of going to a different night that you could be able to join us as well. So yeah, so we're looking at a couple of different books. Caitlin Curtis and Native, one of the books, and the other one is Pagan Christianity. But we haven't decided on yet, so pray about that.
It's really because men don't know how to talk when the women are around, so we need your help.
I don't know.
No.
These guys.
Emotion.
All right, so pray about that and joining us, and we'll keep you informed on which book's coming up.
All right. If you have any other smoke signals you want to get our way, you can put them in the chat unless someone has it.
All right, did you want to talk about your thing, Dave?
Yes.
Sure, I could say something real quick. Brian already put it in the chat. There's the image of the flyer, and then he also included the website for registering there. West Virginia University's Native American Studies program is having a 2-day program on October 9th and 10th, and all times are Eastern. So even though it's October 9th, which is a Monday, you can probably still participate in this and still join Good Medicine Way afterwards. But there are going to be some really, really well-known speakers here. Tadadaho, who is the chief of chiefs of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, is going to be there. The faith keeper for the Onondaga is going to be there. The former or current, I can't remember, poet laureate of the United States, who is also Native, she's going to be there. So some really great speakers lined up. It is free. You can join physically in person if you're there in West Virginia, but you can also do Zoom. So that's October 9th and 10th.
All right. For those of you who are wondering, he did not say Umpedadaka. He said Tadadaho. I thought he said Umpedadaka.
Yeah.
Oh, she's really got connections.
Like, what? Huh? What was this? I didn't know about this.
They couldn't afford Empedadaka.
Yeah.
But funny thing, right when we talked about this just before we came on, and all three of us heard a Petadaka, and we go, wow, she's really moving up in the world. She's got a big gig coming up. And then we cleared it up. They straightened us out. No, Petadaho.
There we go. Okay, got it.
I know, we were all like, wow, this is pretty cool. So, your day's coming, though.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be on the big forum someday.
Okay. Well, then we can head over to our giveaway time. And this is a time when you can, if you want to reciprocate, if you've been blessed by what you've received from Good Medicine Way, you can, we're going to put a QR code blanket up during the song in a minute. Or you can also go again to the Good Medicine Way Facebook group, and at the top there's a logo that's always there. You can click on that to donate through PayPal or another card, or you can message me, Leah Grover, if there's another way you prefer to give with a check or something like that. But yeah, so we're gonna have the blanket here in person if people want to give that way too. So. And this song is called "The Night Will Never Stay." You're gonna do drum? Okay. Hey ya way ya way ya, hey ya way ho. Hey ya way ya way ya, hey ya way ho. Hey ya way ya way ya, hey ya way ho. Hey ya way ya way ya, hey ya way ho. The night will never stay, the night will just go by. Though with a
Oh my goodness. There are absolutely no words. I seriously enjoyed that. And so did Miles. Miles was over here going, he's dancing along. So I was like, yeah. I was like, you like that? He was like, yep. It was awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Rovers. That was absolutely beautiful. But yeah, okay. So next, reading creators' words, which will be Luke 5, verses 1 through 11. Luke 5, verses 1 through 11. It will be Diane Milton. So go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Petadaka. And since I didn't have time to type it in the chat, that was beautiful, Leah. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you. Okay, like she said, we are at Luke 5, verses 1 through 11. Fishing for two-leggeds. As Creator sets free, Jesus was teaching at Lake of Chief Garden, Gennesaret. A great number of people pressed in close to hear him speak the words of the Great Spirit. He was standing on the shore and saw two fishing canoes, but the fishermen had left their canoes and were washing their nets. He climbed into the canoe belonging to one who hears, Simon, and asked him to push out a little from the shore. He then sat in the canoe and taught the large gathering of people. When he had finished speaking, he said to one who hears, Simon, push out farther into the deep water and throw in your nets for a catch. Wisdom keeper, he answered, we have been fishing all night and caught nothing, but because it is you who ask, I will do it. They threw the net out into the water. Before they knew what was happening, the net became heavy. They struggled with the weight of it and began to pull it in. But the net was so full of fish, it began to tear. They called out to the other canoe for help. The men came and began to pull in the nets. Fish of every size poured into the two canoes until they were so full, they began to sink. When one who hears, along with his fishing partners, he takes over, James, and he shows goodwill, John, the sons of gift of Creator, Zebedee, saw what happened, they were filled with wonder and awe at the great catch of fish. One who hears fell to his knees in front of Creator sets free, Jesus. Wisdom keeper, he groaned, go away from me, for I am a bad-hearted and unholy man. Do not fear, Creator sets free, Jesus told him. From now on, your nets will catch two-leggeds. When they returned to the shore, they left everything and began to walk the road with him. May we bless Creator's word in the reading of it. Thank you, Lord, for your word.
All right, that was beautiful. We are fishing for two-leggeds. Two-legged. The four-leggeds and the no-leggeds. Just kidding. I just keep thinking about reservation dogs. Everything we talk about in here just makes me think reservation dogs. But yes, thank you. Thank you, Diane. That was absolutely beautiful. So thank you. All right, now we're going to go into our centering and stillness time. Brian will be providing the Native American flute for us. After that, we will go into our speaker introduction, where our pastor, Dr. Casey Church, will be will be introducing our speaker, Denis Bailey. So it's going to be very awesome. And just to let Denis know, and those of us who are watching right now, we will have a reflection time shortly after the featured sharing tonight. I'm just letting everybody know, letting everybody have a heads up that we'll have another like a reflection time where Brian will also play the flute again. So that way we can get our questions ready and whatever we want to share or comment or however for our little talking circle time. So, but yeah, so we're going to go ahead and do our centering and stillness time. So Brian, go ahead and what does Namar say? Go ahead and show off. Just kidding.
Yes, today we have Dennis Bailey. We became connected here a few years ago and started communicating back and forth. He's got a ministry in Brazil. I'll let him introduce more about that in the future. But this summer, Dennis was able to spend some time with us here at Good Medicine Way. He was spending some time in Florida. He's working another job there, doing some deputation and donor supporter work. And then he came out here and spent some really good time with us. And what was kind of neat is he took a lot of pictures of us here because he showed it. He says, good medicine way behind the scenes, he posted of our time here. So he's a program director for Intercultural Online, program coordinator for the ministry he has there called Third Wave Outreach. Become a good friend. Also, he is also helping us with our website. So got a lot of good connections there, a good friend we've made in Brazil. And I spoke on his program here not too long ago, and his dad, who's in the picture there too, David Bailey, interpreted. So it was kind of one of the first times that I had a chance to do a message, pause, let it be interpreted, and then say another portion and let it be interpreted. I'm used to, people know me, I'm used to going right along. I always kid about, give me a cup of coffee and I can say it all in one breath sometimes. But I had to really slow down and work with the person that was translating my message. So I want to turn it over to Denis, and you can introduce your dad as well, and your beautiful wife and child.
Thank you, Uncle Casey, for this wonderful opportunity. It's an honor to be here. It's been great visiting you guys, getting to know you guys, where you guys live. You guys are actually in the middle of New Mexico, in the middle of almost nothing. But it was a great honor to be received by you and for taking me around, getting to see and also getting to know Brian and Leah. It has been a great pleasure to get to see closer what you guys do, how you guys do it. I'd also like to acknowledge my dad here. He wants to say hi. I guess you would say he's my boss. Um, we joke around sometimes, but if he wants to say hi or something, I'd love for him to just, I don't know, present yourself where you're at, and just before I dive into our presentation this evening.
Good evening to everybody. I'm glad to be here. Thank you for letting me be a part of this group for tonight, this evening. A greeting in the language that we have worked with for many years would be Temre, Temgamakre, Temgamapekam. How are you all doing? That's the Krikachi language. We have been missionaries in Brazil here for 44 years, and we have seen different ones come to know our Lord and Savior, and we are thankful to the Lord for his faithfulness through the years. Thank you for the time here this evening.
Awesome. Thanks, Dad. We have lived with the Kirikachi people for ever since I was born. So we have indigenous names. My dad's name is Krukri. It means 3 pigs, if I'm not mistaken, 3 piglets. My name is Kroare. We have been given names to be a part of the community and the people that my parents have gone to work with. My grandparents went to Brazil in 1952. So being a 3rd generation, been involved in ministry. I had the privilege of living in this tribe for 27 years. 5 of those years together with my wife. She is currently in Brazil. We're going through a different transition. But I wanted to share a couple of photos of the place that I have grown up in. In this picture, you see my daughter, and you see an elderly lady. Her name is Kochiri. She helped my mother for over 15 years since my parents decided to homeschool my sister and myself. And with the involvement of learning the language and all the other different activities that was required of them, my parents had somebody helping my mom during that time. And so when it came for the time for her not to continue working, I remember to this very day, she came down, I was about 15, and pulled my parents aside to talk to them. And then my mom pulled me aside and said, she has come down to request that you call her mom. In the language, mom is in she, and so she was wanting me to be considered her son because she raised me, she took care of me all these years growing up. And so I call her in the native language Inshi, which means mom. And to me, that has been a great honor to be considered that not title, but that consideration of friendship and of being able to be considered one of them. In this picture, one time I was driving by a location that my dad grew up for a while, and they saw me and they yelled out to me, "Come over here, come over here." And so they got me involved in shooting bows and arrows, and we had a good time laughing, joking, and it's always great to be amongst indigenous or native people because I always feel at home with them because that's where I have growing up. When I was in my trip in Albuquerque, Brian said, if you have any pictures of you painted up, share it. So that was part of a ceremonial festival that was done for my grandmother. So they painted me up. The black paint lasts 2 weeks, and the red paint lasts only until you take a bath. So it's part of their corporal decorations for when they participate in ceremonial activities. So if you ever come to visit, you will definitely get painted up, and you will have to take your shirt off, men, of course. And then the women, I had an interesting experience in the center of the tribe. We had a group of people out there, and so the girls were with me, and one of the guys says, all the women have to take their shirt off. That's our culture. And then I knew that in our culture, women don't take their shirt off. So I said, in our culture, we don't take our shirt off. And they said, that's fine. Have them take their shirt off, but wear a tank, like a tank top or something. You want them, if they want to be here in the middle of the village, they have to walk around with a tank top shirt to be a part of us. So it's a very warm culture. They always like to embrace people. They love visitors. So we would love to have you guys come visit us whenever it's possible. This picture was part of a festival that was a ceremony of grieving the ending of the mourning period of my grandmother. It took 2 years, but they kept insisting they wanted to do that. And so basically what they do is they run with the log, and it's a 3-day festival. It starts Friday afternoon and it goes till Sunday noon. And they have these traditions that they carried for many, many years, and they still continue doing it. They still speak their language, and it's always great to hang out with them. This is a quick picture of, I didn't put it in the right location, but this is one of our volunteers. She's indigenous, teaching stories, part of our children's program. And so we constantly desire to see that the indigenous are actively engaged and participating in that which we do when we do our activities with in the tribes or the villages with the people. So this is another quick picture I wanted to share that the colonel of our city contacted me, wanted to do a partnership trip, and they gave us 10 spots at no cost. And they took a dentist, doctor, and a bunch of soldiers out on this trip. It was about a 6-hour trip into the dense jungle. And so it's a pretty interesting how the Lord provided for that opportunity in ways that we had never expected. And this has left a great mark in our life. We're going to be talking about this evening a little bit about third wave and the concept. The it's the concept coined by the Christian indigenous organization in Brazil. And the first wave is foreign missionaries that leave their lands. They go to a new place. They have to learn one language and then they have to learn a second language. So the concept that they developed was the second wave is the nationals, which would be the Brazilian, non-indigenous, and then the third wave would be the indigenous people. And so they have a heart to help the indigenous of Brazil to see that they also have the capacity and ability to share the message of the word of God to their own people. And it's not just restricted to, as we would say here in North America, white men. And so they have this desire to see that the third wave of people also catching a vision and the heart that they also have the same capacity, same ability, and same responsibility to take this message that Jesus Creator has given us. So, Kurumi in Action is a ministry that we've been doing for 13 years now. It started with my wife when we lived together in the tribe that I grew up in. We were kind of thinking, okay, what can we do? My parents have been here for almost 25 years. My grandparents were here for quite a number of years. What can we offer? And what I've discovered is being in ministry, you can't wear people's other shoes. You have to discover your calling and what Creator God has for us or for as the individual, and to discover what Jesus is calling us into. And so my wife started working with the children, and then as it grew, we were able to mobilize teams of people in different states, and we've seen a very interesting form of doing it. It's kind of complex. I don't want to get into all the detail because there's other stuff that I really like to focus on here. But one year we had 18 teams. We reached 4,000 kids in 3 states. And so we've seen this ministry that has involved with the intention of involving the native, the indigenous, alongside with the second wave, the national or the Brazilian church, to work together so that they can do ministry side by side. Some of the locations that we visit, I have to travel to get to where the teams are. One place is 18 hours. It took an 18-hour bus ride to get there. In the second picture you see, it took a 5-hour van ride to get to that location. So the ministry is really expanded out in diverse location, and the cost of taking people from one central location to these places is virtually impossible because the cost factor. So the idea is, why don't we work to get the people closer to these locations to understand why we do what we do and provide that opportunity and support so that they can do the same things that we have been doing for many years now. Out of that was birthed the necessity for us to do some kind of a training. And once again, it's very difficult to bring people from faraway places, and for them to have the finances and resources and time to do that is virtually also impossible. And not even to mention that you'd have to bring teachers in, and the cost factor is kind of out of the reach. So we've been able to develop an online school. We have a 6-week course that just started today. This is our 4th year doing it. So we've had over 200 students, people from hundreds of churches, 10 different states. And so the coolest testimony that I had to share is this girl you see in the picture. She did the first year, and she said, I studied seminary for a year. I was coming to the end of my time. I didn't know what I was going to do when I got back home with my schooling in seminary. But until I did 2 school, third wave outreach school, 6 weeks course, I knew what I could do when I got home. So the training is a very practical course that teaches people how to do things at a very practical level. So today she's back in her home tribe, and she is working with the children. I see pictures that she posts every now and then. and she does a very amazing job ministry with the children, the young people, and it's just so amazing to see what God has been doing and what He is doing. Another thing that I've been doing intercultural online, what we do is we invite Indigenous people to come share for an hour about their experiences as Indigenous people, the challenges and what it is to be an Indigenous person in modern times, because we've noticed that many people have misconceptions about what the Indigenous, how they live, um, how do they eat, how do they dress, and so also we had I'm trying to remember Paul. Paul was a part of our one time we brought him on. He spoke to the Portuguese audience and we had subtitles. He and his wife bought a very cool presentation. You can access that on YouTube. And we were able to do all that through Google grant ads that we have through our nonprofit organization. And we've been able to get a rather large audience for this aspect. And it's been interesting because we've been building relationships and connections with other Native, other Indigenous people in other locations. Through that idea, we decided to try another experiment called Two Church. We just had church meeting. We had Uncle Casey, Uncle Terry, and then also other Indigenous people on to share and bring a message to help encourage the volunteers and in remote locations to be encouraged through hearing people that have had experience and have experience with Indigenous ministers. And the last core testimony I learned from that before we get into the word here was a couple of weeks ago, one of our volunteers out of the blue posted a picture and he said, I did my first online church meeting and I learned from Denis how to do online church and I started doing it with my friend from my village. So he currently lives in a village I grew up by marrying one of the girls. And so he lives about 2 hours from where he used to live. His language is different. And so it was just, I never instructed him. I never told him how to do it. I never created some special program. I never told him that now he needed to do it. Out of the blue, he just caught the vision, he understood the concept, and he just started doing it on his own. So the history of connecting with Good Medicine Way, in 2016, I started hearing about Indigenous theology. So I wanted to know more about it. And then I got on YouTube, and that's where I discovered Terry LeBlanc, Richard Twist, Randy Woodley, and Ray Aldred. Those were the main 4 speakers that I saw constantly. And so we came to the stage in 2018, and I found out that there was going to be a symposium, and the topic was white supremacy. So I told my dad, I said, Dad, we need to go to this. We need to get connected and find out what's happening here in North America. We don't know anything in Brazil, and it would be kind of cool just to get connected to a community. So we did our their routine trip. We were up in Maine at that time, so we hopped over to join it. That's where we met Uncle Casey, and we were, I must confess, very shocked at the stories that we heard about the 50-60 scoop, the people that had gone through the boarding school, and was something that we had never heard of. And so it was something that was just left us very, I don't know how to say it, but left our hearts really sad to know. And we felt the pain and we felt the shock of what we heard from people that were telling us these stories. And we were just left puzzled, like, what happened? Why did this happen? And we had never heard about that. And so a couple of years later, I contacted Uncle Casey. He said, hey, I put a course together to build websites. And then later he contacted me asking to help work on their website. So that's kind of how we've made this greater connection. And so what I learned about when I visited Albuquerque, 2 things that really stuck out in my time there, and I wanted to share it here. Casey's story of his calling I don't know if he's ever shared it. I've never heard him share it publicly, so I'll let him share his story. But the other thing that really impressed me was he said he never wanted to be ordained. And when I heard him say that, and I had also felt that same thing in my heart, I never wanted to be a pastor. And I could never figure out and I could never understand why until I heard Uncle Casey saying it himself. So Uncle Casey said that if he was ordained, his life would be in the hands of other people to tell him where to go and where to minister, what churches to go to. And an indigenous native ministry, that cannot be so. Because it takes so long for indigenous people to build relationships, and then when you have a turnover of leadership, it breaks that trust, it breaks that relationship and connection, and therefore it is not the best for that purpose of working in Native ministry. So when I heard that, it brought so much understanding and clarity in my heart to understand why I've always been not when we were engaged with the local church. I did not want to be a pastor, and I did not know why, but it made so much more sense after hearing Uncle Casey's explanation. The second thing was my conversation with Brian. He said that their church, the ministry that's supporting them, understands that they don't understand the ministry. And then when I looked at him, I said, "What do you mean? How did they get to that point?" And he says they tried everything and nothing has worked. And so we understand that there are difficulties for the Western culture to try to understand indigenous people and ways of doing things that they don't understand. And I think it's so amazing that they're the ministry that they're working with has that understanding. And I just wish that many more people would be able to have that as well. So tonight, I want to talk about community, concept and construction for a visual community for the next outreach movement. So we have 6 principles that I've kind of developed over the years, and I've kind of brought it together in these 6 points. Principles that we focus on to develop our community as followers of Jesus. So one of them is our calling, which gives us our purpose. And as we see all the men and women of the Bible, we notice that all of them are called. Literally, they are actually given a special moment or point many times, being called out for a specific purpose or for a specific reason. So after the calling happens, we often get a direction. We're often given a specific not a chore, but we're given a specific task to do. And that points us the way that we need to go. But for us to be able to go and be able to do that, we have to have a life of surrender, a life of sacrifice, and a life of obedience to be able to do and obey what the Creator has asked us to do. Then we need provision. We need to have provision to be able to walk in that path that the Creator has called us to do. And then that could be our daily bread. That's the provision. So we see many times Creator's provision during the men and women that He called out. And He always provides in very interesting and unique ways. The 5th point is community. If we don't have community, which is life, then if we're isolated, we often might not be able to do or be able to do all the rest of it if we don't have a community built up around us that we're connected to, because that's the life-giving force and even extremely important. And so that's kind of what we're going to focus on tonight. And the sovereignty of God, He is in control and cares for all that is His. And we see that the power and the supernatural things that happen that have no explanation. And when we look at that, we say, that was only God that could do that. That was only Creator that can do that. So we're going to jump into the text that we read tonight. I'll run through it real quick. And I put in yellow for us to kind of see the 6 points and how it reflects in this text. As Creator sets free, Jesus was teaching at the lake of Chief Garden. A great number of people pressed in close to hear Him speak the words of the Great Spirit. He was standing on the shore and saw 2 fishing canoes. But the fishermen had left their canoes and were washing their nets. He climbed into the canoe belonging to the one who hears, Simon, and asked him to push out a little from the shore. He then sat in the canoe and taught the large gathering of people. So here we see community, we see people. When he had finished speaking, he said to the one who hears, Simon, push out further into the deep water and throw out your net for catch. So we now see Creator Jesus calling out Simon Peter's name. Now we have a calling here. He's directing a specific person to do something now. Wisdom keeper, he answered. We have been fishing all night and caught nothing. But because it is you who asked, I will do it. They threw the net out into the water. So now we see a life of surrender. We see a life of obedience. We see a life of saying, yes, okay. Before they knew what was happening, the net became heavy. They struggled with the weight of it and began to pull it in. But the net was so full of fish, it began to tear. I'm sorry, I forgot to translate this word provision. Provision. I translated this from another text that I had. But now we see the provision happening, that the food that is necessary for us to eat, the food to give us the strength to our body, and we see God providing, Creator providing here. They called out to one another. They called out to the other canoe for help. The men came and began to pull in the nets. Fish of every size poured into the two canoes until they were so full they began to sink. When one who hears, Simon, along with his fishing partners, he takes over, James, and he shows goodwill, John, the son of gift of Creator, Zebedee, saw what happened. They were filled with wonder and awe at the great catch of fish. One who hears, Simon, fell to his knees in front of Creator sets free. Wisdom keeper, he groaned, go away from me, for I am bad-hearted and unholy man. So now we see in this point the sovereignty of God, the only what God can do. And that's when we see the hand of God in our life. Do not fear, Creator sets free, Jesus told them. From now on, your nets will catch two-legged. Now we see once again a direction. When they returned to the shore, they left everything and began to walk the road with him. And we see here, once again, surrender in the lives of these people that followed Creator sets free. So the first point we're going to talk about is the building blocks to building a community. So let's dive in. We're going to run over some points. Important observational behaviors that I've discovered when working with volunteers. These are some points. I'm sure there's more, but this isn't a complete list. I didn't want to make it exhaustive. But one of the things I've noticed is commitment. Whenever we're working with volunteers and building that community, we want to find people that have a commitment and those that are going to stick and they show up and they fulfill their commitment when they say they're going to do something. Another point that I've discovered is that they listen. I've discovered many volunteers that don't listen. They cut you, they cut you when you're talking, and they're not listening when you're speaking. And so in the indigenous culture, what I've noticed is many times the elders teach the younger people to listen. And oftentimes the Western culture, young people, they don't listen. They don't know how to listen. They kind of run over everybody talking and they don't know how to be respectful. And so when working with people that don't know how to listen, often they become difficult to work with. Another observation is we notice is people that are engaged, they want to be engaged. When they're engaging, that brings joy to our heart when we see people actively engaged in whatever we're doing or whatever has to be done. And another observational point is people need to learn to give, but they also need to learn to receive. So there's a transactional behavior that needs to happen when we work with people. If they don't give, but they only receive, something's probably not right. If they only want to give, but they don't want to receive, something also probably isn't not very good. Components of a strong community: passion, vision, the leader, tribesmen, the people that make that community. And here's the interesting part is the content that is created for that community that brings in more people. And that content is something that I learned when we started creating the online school, and when that took off, it really was a calling card to bring more people in. And the number 6 platform, or the gathering place for people to gather. And we've learned how to do that online, which is what you guys are doing, and I think is so amazing. And the last point is trust. Trust is what holds people together, and the trust that we build, and it's extremely important that we have that trust in place. Values to cultivate: be heard, belong, be understood, and understand. So this is another community I've been working on, and we came up with these as a mistake. It's often hard to find people in a community that understands you and that you can understand others. It's often hard as a missionary kid to find a place to belong. And recently I heard of a saying that made so much sense to me, that missionary kids are invisible immigrants, because when we come back to the United States, we often struggle finding people that understand us and being able to get connected with the community. And that's a whole nother topic that I don't want to go down now. But this is so important that we have in the community, that we can be heard, that we feel like we belong, we can be understood, and we can understand. So we're going to talk about the building blocks of concepts of an online community now. We're going to run through this. So when the internet age came out, it brought much fear. People thought it was the end of the world. Some thought it was the beginning of the Antichrist. Some people thought it was the beginning of the one world government. And so the internet brought so much uncertainty. Nobody could understand what the internet was. And so oftentimes we still see that struggle for some people that try to get engaged online, because they're so uncertain of what the internet is and how it works. And so we are often afraid of the unknown, but we can give our unknown future into the hand of a known God. So I say this because building an online community is a struggle, because to get people on board is the challenge, because they still don't seem to know how to do that and how to get engaged. So we see that the physical versus the virtual. We see online stores today, and we see physical stores. But we have to understand that the internet will never take 100% the place of the physical. So those that live in remote locations want to buy something, they can now go online, make a payment online, and in a week or two get that product at their front door. If they don't have that product at the store in the city that they live in, which makes life so much better, which enhances life so much more. And schools also happening. Online schools, people now learning and studying. And then my question is, why not church? Why can't church be done online? Church will never, the virtual church will never take the place of a physical church, but it can make it so much more better. And like Good Medicine Way, I understand and see that it also has the same practices of doing online church in a certain aspect of bringing people together, sharing, praying to Creator, singing songs, and bringing a word of encouragement. So I see a lot of what you guys are doing is also the same thing. It took me a long time to figure out how I got to where I got, but finally coming to the States this time, I started reflecting of the things I was doing, and I could never explain it to people because I wasn't sure how to communicate. So I kind of headed up a little bit. And when I was about 13, 14, my brother got me involved in building a website. And so I got involved in learning about internet marketing, branding, and all that 9 yards. And I just knew how to do it, but I didn't know how to explain it. So the engine of success is a list of contacts. And these contacts are people that are interested in what you're doing. So just like people who do outreach ministries, they need supporters, they need people who have social media, they have followers. And so for us to continue having those followers or people, we have to create content for people that like the things that we do. So we see Facebook, Instagram do a lot of that. But what we have to understand is the attention span of people is very short on the internet. On Facebook, we see that 3.5 minutes is the ideal time, but on Instagram, 10 to 15 seconds is the ideal attention span of the younger generation that's coming up. So we have to be really short, and that's often difficult because we have to kind of sort through what we want to say and what we don't want to say. Know who your target audience is, offer a service of value, share your knowledge, and also create a course or an ebook and get what you have in your heart out there. Get what you have to offer in a way so that people can be tangible. Like Uncle Casey, he's wrote several books. I've read, I think, all of his books, and Uncle Casey, I have no idea how much reading your stories and reading your books has been a blessing. Also, my own life and just learning your stories. So when I went there, just hearing you in person, just kind of brought a lot more things to life. So I want to encourage all the audience to write a book, create some kind of training or a weekend course, and just get out there and experiment with whatever you have that you have to offer. So the pillars of an outreach movement. 6 important topics that I encourage people that are in our ministry to study anthropology. When I was with Uncle Casey, he shared with me how intercultural studies is the same as missiology, as people are sorting through the term. Linguistics is another interesting people are called into ministry care. So it's very important that the volunteer or whoever is going to do outreach ministry knows how to take care of themselves as they deal with people and a lot of the public audience. I use the 4x4 principle that I share with the first wave missionaries. When they go to a foreign field, they take them 4 years to go through training. Then it takes them 4 years to learn the local national language. And then once they get into indigenous tribe, it will take them another 4 years to learn the native language. So you can see it takes a long time, lots of cost, and we see so many that still haven't been, been able to be reached. And so we have to figure out a way to overcome that obstacle and making it simple, easier. So the best method that I found and discovered is, why don't we reach people in remote locations that live close to remote indigenous places and get them engaged, taking tools and resources to where they're at so that they together with their church can learn about transcultural ministry, how to do this together as a team, and by working and walking with them and seeing young individuals that have a calling and a desire to do something. And those are the people that we're looking for, and taking these tools through the technology, we can also take this to them. Another thing I noticed is taking indigenous people out of their reservation to study for 2 years. And when they go back into the reservation, they grow so much academically, but they can never seem to bring the simplicity of what they've learned to a practical level to their own community. So my heart burns when I see the younger generation growing up. How do we help community development? How do we grow the community together and not just individuals? How do we collectively bring a way so that we can engage with the community, so that we can learn together and grow together, and so that the whole community grows, rather than just singling out 1 or 2 people, taking them and trying to, and it's a good thing, it's not bad, it's not that we should stop doing that, but I think, what about the ones that are left behind? What about the ones that are still in their communities and they need to? So I really admire Terry LeBlanc, listening to his story, listening to his videos, He said he fought to stay in his community to study, and he received many invites from seminaries and colleges to leave his community to go study in a college. And he kept saying, no, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. I want to develop something that can help us and others to also study and not have to leave our community. So I really admire the Nate's community and what they've developed, what they've grown into, and just listening to the conversations different times has just really an encouraging to see that the Native Americans are also actively engaged in bringing that community development and growth in the Native Indigenous community. So what's the solution? Using technology. Instead of bringing students and teachers from faraway places to find ways to take it to them. But without a community built around understanding how we do what we do and why we do what we do, there is no way to reach our goal is to help reach the ones that are even more remote in a remote location. The pillar of the three waves, we kind of ran over that, the foreigners, the nationals, and the indigenous. And when I came across Billy Graham's statement, the Native Americans have been a sleeping giant. He is awakening. The original Americans can be the next greatest evangelists who will help win America for Christ. My question is, why not the whole world? Why not all the indigenous people actively together, finding a way to build that community, to come together and to become that community that reaches the whole world in their own way, in their own style, so that all can come to know Creator sets free. Concept of online church. There's two things that are really interesting. I am not going into depth. I don't have a good handle on this topic, but I think it's very interesting for our understanding of church. Modalic and sodalic. Modalic is the internal care of the community. It's how we take care of those that are close in that local setting. Sodalic is the outreach part of the ministry. The people go out and our fishers are two-legged. That's where we see people going out and doing and reaching out to people. And so there's two aspects that are very important. So I identify more with the sodalic and not so much with the modalic. But we need a balance of both to be a healthy church, to be a healthy body, to be able to work together. So some of the principles we share with our community, be a part of a local church. They need to be approved by their pastor. They need to support the church, but they can also support our organization. They can be a part of our organization and that which we do. I've learned a lot. I've made a lot of mistakes. And through that, I've learned that we need to invite people. We need to get the word out. We need to recruit people. We need to gather. We need to create that gathering place. We need to train them. We need to teach them how to do it. And Benjamin Franklin's statement, a quote, has been the best that has guided me is, tell me and I forget. Teach me and I may remember. Involve me and I learn. So I've learned that I need to get these volunteers. I need to involve them into that which we're doing. And I can't just tell them, I just can't teach them, but I have to involve volunteers. I have to get them engaged so that they actually learn what we have and what we're trying to do. Why does third wave outreach exist? We exist because of people in our community who live in remote locations and want to do outreach ministry with the indigenous, but don't have training or preparation, nor the resources to do so. Churches and pastors often don't know how to support and encourage the ones with calling. We serve people in remote locations to reach indigenous and more remote places so that they can be a part of the next outreach movement. One of the aspects of community we see when God created Adam and Eve in Genesis 2:24. For this reason, a man leaves his father and his mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. And as we see, Paul also makes reference to this passage where he says, for this purpose, a man must leave his father and mother so that he can join with his wife, and the two will become one body. This is the great mystery. But I'm telling you that it is about the chosen one and his sacred family. So each man should love his wife as himself, treat her as he wants. her to treat him, and each wife is to give respect to her husband. When I got married, and my dad did the ceremony for our marriage, our wedding, and he says, "You, Dennis, and Oli, you are now one flesh." I must confess that we kind of still discovered that we were both two different individuals. And it's really hard and painful to become one flesh because we often have to die to ourselves. We have to learn to become one by sacrificing that which we like and what we like. And to become one, we have to learn to grow together. And the painful process is a painful process to become one. And it's not easy. And so what I want to share here is 10 years ago, I'm not the same Dennis I was 10 years ago. And I'm not the same Dennis I will be 10 years from now. I hope I'll be a better version of myself tomorrow. And I hope I'm a better version of myself yesterday. And so as I continue to walk with my wife, and as I learn to grow with her, and as I learn to painfully understand that certain things I have to let go, but I will always be Dennis, and my wife will always be Oli. We are two different distinct people, but we're becoming one flesh. It's a process as we come to daily, every day, to learn to grow with one another. So I bring this as a final point to our conversation here, as we understand that becoming community, becoming one together is a painful process. It's not easy. It hurts. It's going to be painful. There's going to be misunderstanding. There's going to be rejection. There's going to be changes. There's going to be all kinds of things. We're not going to understand people. People aren't going to understand us. But if we choose to be one together, and as the process goes on, we will become a better version of ourselves together. And we will not be the same we were before, and we won't be the same in the future. So it's a process as we grow and walk to become community, and we learn to live together so that we can become all that God has created, set free, as for us, as we obey His calling, the surrender, the provision, His sovereignty, and the direction that He gives in our life. Thank you, Uncle Casey, for this wonderful moment. This is kind of the first time I'm bringing this message together. It's not 100%, but I do hope to learn more from you guys as we continue this journey in a good way with you guys. And I hope that whatever Creator has for us, that we can continue to contribute and walk alongside with you guys.
All right, yeah, we'll do our little reflection time. Everybody can get all their thoughts in line.
Hot or fast.
All right.
All right. Now we're going to go into our question and response time. Kind of what I decided to start calling our little talking circle time. So go ahead, take it away, Brian.
All right, I think Laura is going to open us up here.
Oh, here,
Yeah.
So, hi Dennis.
Hi, Laura. Good to see you.
Same here, nephew. Hope you're doing well.
Thank you.
So, there was one slide in particular that caught my attention that you had, and it was the title, Principles That We Focus On to Develop Our Community as Followers of Jesus. And then you had number 1, calling, which is finding one's purpose. 2, direction, the way. 3, surrender, the sacrifice. 4, provision, our daily bread. 5, community, which is the life. 6, sovereignty of God. He is in control and cares for all that is His. And the more you were explaining this, and I think one other component to think about, and especially for us, let's say here at Good Medicine Way, maybe it's number 7, is sustainability. And looking at not only finding and melting together, all of us, with skills, abilities, interests, calling, time, commitment, availability, and how to grow the ministry. But then I think elevating it to the next level is your sustainability. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that, but that just struck me. Another thing about again with what we're doing here is our sustainability and finding partners in either with other resources or ministry partners or even other non-ministry entities who can partner with us. So that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
I think
Go ahead.
Yeah, you can stay there. I like to talk to the person. I don't like just rambling off. I like to engage in this conversation. So you can stay there, and I can share a couple things that are running through my mind. I might not have it all together, so we might have another conversation in the future. I might collectively bring some more stuff. But what I see, I totally agree, because sustainability is something that's very important. And I think the challenging part is the struggle that I've been having is I've been doing ministry, but I have not found that way to engage and supporting to stay in that. I can't charge the volunteers to participate because what they're doing, money can't pay for it. And so some people have given me that suggestion, why don't you charge for the course? And I just don't feel right about it. Like, this doesn't make sense. I mean, so many people are created to the content, and I'm going through the same thing, so I could say we're in the same boat. I don't have the answer, but I believe sustainability is extremely important, because if I would have come off the picture totally, which I've been giving the support to them in Brazil just through the technology, but I still haven't found that solution myself. So if you guys find a fish and let me know where they're at, I'll go try and fish over there in that area of the pond as well. So it's a good point, and I think I will definitely add it to that list.
Yes.
All righty. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you too. You too.
Right. I don't see anything in the online stuff yet. So yeah, you can just come out. One thing that kind of struck me, just because I've seen it a lot, is like when you were talking about the qualities of a good volunteer or a good partner, or however you want to talk about it, but was that that they are people that will listen, because especially like in outreach to indigenous groups. So any kind of cross-cultural outreach of any kind that you're doing, so much of the time you see people, especially like if it's like a group from a church where they've done all this planning and they've collected these resources and they had to sell this idea, so they come with this like kind of pre-packaged plan. But a lot of times when you get to the place where you want to implement it, it doesn't really make sense. And so sometimes you see that, and you see people will actually listen to the local people and modify what they have to try to make it work for what makes sense. But unfortunately, more often than not, you just see people just plow ahead with their project that they already had designed, whether or not it fits. And sometimes, it's just kind of peripheral, but sometimes it actually ends up doing a lot of damage that then, the local community has to spend a lot of years and efforts working to make right again. So yeah, I just, for me, just in my own experience, I really thought like, yeah, that listening aspect is really a key thing.
Brian, I think you said everything that was in my head. That listening was so important. And this week, I stay in contact with people on the reservation. And I have one that's up in Canada. And I asked her, I said, what do you need? That was it. I said, what do you need? Because I said, I'm interested because I know that the church wants to bring things to you. But she says, I don't need coats. I don't need this. She says, I need help with my children because of things going on there on the reserve. They're giving her a hard time. And I said, well, let me see what I can do about getting some people and getting some ideas together. And that's what we did. I said, it was about listening to what she needed as an indigenous person. And I said, boy, did we miss the boat. We just had so many things prepackaged and what we were going to do. And all we had to do was ask them, what do you need from us? So I really like that.
Yeah, amen. Let's see, Helen threw something in the chat here, and she said that a lot of what's been talked about tonight reminded her of Laura's Sewing 101, and how that started with like just kind of a cultural teaching thing that we did here, but then through various connections, Laura got connected into the public school system and was able to really bring it in there. And then Helen just mentioned that it kind of was an illustration of the importance of building relationships and building trust with people, and then see where things go. So if I didn't get that right, Helen, you can just pop on and correct me. But hopefully it's pretty good.
Got it. That's fine.
I got a question, Dennis. Finding people to work with you, that understanding part. I like how you brought that out. Leah and Brian, many years ago now, 6 years ago now, I just asked them, I said, I got this idea, and I want to know what you think, and if you like what you're hearing, would you work with me to make this thing happen? And they came on, and They've been faithful to this. They run the show. I mean, it's great to have, you know, their input, their support. Because I travel a bit. It's hard to get here, but they are sustaining. Talk about sustainability. They're making it happen. Here's the question. What's important to you about finding those people that really understand you and believe in your cause?
Basically, from my experience, if I were to make an announcement to 1,000 people about something I'm gonna do, 100 of them might contact, for example. And out of those 100, maybe 20 will actually show up to a meeting. And of those 20, 10 might actually participate in it. And out of those 10, 1 might do it next year. So there's a certain type of dynamic that I've noticed that is variable in all different circumstances because people change jobs, move cities, and the dynamics of the coordinators that we call them is the leaders of the team. The most we have them is for 3 years, and so there's a constant turnover of volunteers because either they can get married, then have different commitments, they'll go to another city, they'll get a new job or start studying college. And the age frame of the availability of most people is mostly 15 to 30. But once past 30, I noticed that life gets a little bit more busy for people and they don't have as much availability and time to dedicate to do something or to be a part of something. They might come back later and might participate in another moment, but so that part about getting the word out as much as you can, gathering with them, finding out a way to involve them, give them something to do, that's where they learn to do something. And then once you gather them, then you have to find a way to train them. You have to find a way to teach them the principles or that which you are guiding them into. And then the other thing is, I've learned the hard way. I give, in the beginning, people too much control what they want to do. When I all of a sudden realize that person is not working with a certain healthy protocol, and I pull back the reins a little bit, that group of people revolt and then they get upset at me and then it becomes a big mess. So I've learned that I've had to learn to guide people, hold back the reins at a certain point to test them. And then when you test their ability to listen, their ability to engage, their ability to partner and to allow you to speak into their life is the big, heavy focal point that I had missed for so many years. And I've made many mistakes that way. So once I've learned that, and through the school, I'm able to do that. But in person, I can't. So it's interesting how this school came about, and it allows a curriculum and a program that is able to build that type of, implement that type of opportunity and activity. I don't know if I answered your question. I kind of went around, but I hope I answered it good enough. If not, ask again. I'll try to figure out how to get it.
All right, that was pretty good. Yes, got to connect there.
I had a question. The one slide on your presentation that stood out to me was the one where it said, I think it was quoting Casey saying, the people don't even know what they don't know, or they don't even understand what they don't understand. And then you were asking, how did it get to be that way? Can you talk more about that slide?
Yeah, that was a conversation I had with Brian in the car after I spent the evening with you guys. And Brian was driving me back to Uncle Casey's house, and we just started talking about like the interesting aspect. I don't know how many details I can share. I don't want to say anything that I shouldn't. So, but anyways, Brian was basically sharing how the support that you guys have from the church, and he was sharing certain elements of the difficulty that was going on, and then he made that statement. He said, the church understands that they don't understand, and so that's why they're depositing this. How do I say it? They're giving the see something come from good medicine way. That's kind of how I read it. Now Brian can correct me if I'm wrong or something, but then when he made that statement, they understand that they don't understand. I was like, looked at him and I says, how did they get to that point? How did they come to the point that they understand that they don't understand Native American ministry? Because that is something my dad could even probably talk about this a lot, but we've discovered that churches don't understand, and that has always been frustrating, and we haven't figured out how to have that dialogue where they're open to hear and experiment, because we actually live in the indigenous community for a long time, and we've learned many things that we haven't been able to articulate. So when Brian said that, I was like, that makes sense. How do I get our local church to understand that they don't understand? Because they don't understand that they don't understand. And that's a very frustrating thing that we find all the time. And how do you get past that? How do you tell people you don't understand, you don't understand? And I'll look at you like, I don't want to hear you. Just like, they don't. So you kind of have to let them, how do you say it? You live and learn. How do you get people to learn? And then when they learn that something's not working, and there's a phrase that's, I can't remember how it goes, but anyway, yeah. I hope I answered your question. Brian, I don't know if you have something you want to compliment to that?
I mean, just like the context of what we were talking about, that, we were talking about when you're trying to get support when you're doing work, that, we all had the experience where you see people who go out in the field and they're doing the work, but then to get support for what they're doing, they have to go back and get support from usually various churches and whatever. And some churches have a certain things that they want to see. It's like, when we talk about the listening, thing, same kind of thing. And so you often see people who are doing outreach work that they create these peripheral projects so that they can sell the project to the supporting church to get the money that they need to do their outreach, even though that project has really nothing to do with what they really want to do. But then the danger in that is that those peripheral projects then overtake what you're actually doing, and so then you can't even do what you want to do because you're having to do all these peripheral, things to get the money flowing in. So I said the one thing that was nice about some of the support that we've had recently is that the organization, flat out just came out and said, we don't know how to do what you want to do, but we think it's important, so we want to support you in it. And so they gave us a little more levity in being able to define, they were like, we need some kind of benchmarks though, but why don't you guys tell us what your benchmark should be, instead of us telling you this is the numbers we need to see, whatever. So, and it was a painful process a little bit, trying to figure out what was going to work for them, what was practical for us and everything. But it was refreshing in that they at least understood, they didn't understand how this kind of outreach works. And so they were willing to have that dialogue, where a lot of times churches are just like, if you want our money, jump through our hoops, and that's the beginning and the end of the story.
That's right, yes. And add to that, they had such a preconceived idea of what a Native ministry basically had to look like in order to be Methodist. And I would go on and I would tell them stories about, you had 17 Native ministries on the reservation that looked Methodist. Today you have 1.5 because it doesn't fit the community. And what we're trying to do here as a kind of groundwork, we're trying to create something that looks like the community to begin with, and maybe we got to tweak it along the way to make it look like the community. But we're not starting with your ideas, we're starting with our ideas. Kind of like, at least as asking the questions of us, what do we feel we need? And they were supportive enough to say, like you said, we don't understand, but we can see that we don't understand. We're trusting you and the Holy Spirit in you to go forward and create something that can have that longevity, sustainability, and that positive connection to the community that will have results. And we're still in that phase, and we're 5 years into it, and we've had a lot of changes. We didn't know it was going to be a program like we're doing now, because COVID forced us into doing this, but it's been working out really well. So, long answer, short question.
It's kind of amazing.
Put into it. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's kind of amazing where we came from too, because before with COVID, we had to change. We didn't even do a ministry like this. We were just pulling random questions out of a hat and try to answer our daily Bible studies from that, because they were just like, these questions were very native based and spiritual based, but we couldn't really do that in Zoom. So we had to really figure out how we're going to change that whole dynamic, but still outreach and teach everyone this amazing work that Terry has been doing, and use that.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, but I think it's good, and I think it's exciting what you're doing too, Dennis.
Yes.
I really feel like, especially for the younger generations, that the virtual space is really things are going to be happening in the future, and we need to figure out how do you make the love of Jesus real in the virtual space, and get that to happen. Because there's some, like you said, for your examples, you have so many people that the groups are so remote and they're so hard to get to. But if you can send a team out one time and set up some solar panels and enough hardware that they can connect in virtually, then suddenly now you have a satellite group that can be part of your bigger group that's in the cities and stuff, without having to send people out on a 16-hour journey every time just to get there. And we've definitely had that experience here. I mean, like tonight, like people are from all over the country, and so it's it's great. And our speakers are from all over. Now it's rare that we have a speaker that's actually in person. So we're still figuring it out. We still want to have live local presence, but we also want to keep it with the virtual community too. So yeah, we're still trying to figure out how do you make this hybrid community. But yeah,
I was gonna say, adding on to that, Brian, what Dennis was saying was about the idea of like the internet's not going to replace the community, and that is true. But being here with you guys is pretty awesome. But when I got to meet some of my internet people, it was just those barriers were breaking down. It was just like I didn't have to worry or being like a kid going into kindergarten for the first time and not meeting anyone. I mean, when I was my kid self, that was fun. I was like, I'm going to meet new kids. But now I'm just like, I'm so shy, so social anxiety. I get to meet the people here. And when I meet them in person, I'm just like, all those basic icebreakers are gone. I don't have to worry about anything. And it was great meeting a lot of people at last year's family camp.
Yeah. Did you have something, Joe? I thought I saw a hand up at one point.
Thank you, Dennis, for your words and sharing your process. I mean, you kind of got there with the finding people that kind of come alongside you and maybe don't understand. I think that's kind of all I'm looking for. Like, I don't understand myself 3/4 of the time anyway. So, I mean, if I can get somebody that is like, cool, I trust you. I have no idea what you're doing, but I trust you. Like that's, I'm sorry I missed the beginning of all this, but I did have one thought on top of that. It sounded like maybe you're doing like a training with Indigenous people, maybe, or at least part of it. And if you are, my question in that is, training's good, but I'm always looking for like what the spirit is doing with the community than an actual like coming in and training. So I'll just throw that out as my 2 cents, which are not as shiny as Laura's. They're kind of old and broken. That's my 2 cents. So
I'll try to answer it. If I don't answer it right, you can reformulate your question. I'll try to clarify a little bit more. So basically, the best way I can say it is we act like a school, but we're not a school. We act like a church, but we're not a church. We act like an agency, but we're not an agency. And it's kind of like, I confess I'm still struggling. What are we? What are we doing? How do I tell people? How do I tell churches what I'm doing? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just doing this. I do that. And I have fun doing it. And it's like, but it's not sustainable either. I'm stuck here now. I have to go work now. And so my wife's back in Brazil and I'm trying to figure out how to make this situation fix. So the best way I can explain it is, today started our 6-week school. There's 2 formats to it. It's kind of complex, so I'm not going to go into detail, but I hope to make it understandable that it's a very practical school where it teaches very simplified ways, and it deploys people to go and do it. Like, learn it, go and do it. And as you're doing it, you're gaining relationships and experience and building connections with people. And then after the experience is done, after that event, so we base everything we do on event. Native American cultures and Indigenous cultures evolve around events. Once the event's done, everybody had fun, what's the next event? So we come up with another event and we'll try to do that. Not trying to focus so much on training academic, but more practical experience where we bring teachers on board that share their experiences at a very practical level. Since we're talking about this, application, I do and I have thought about for a while now of doing an English version of it. And there's no set way to do it. We have 5 topics that we try to share with people what to talk about, but we don't tell the teachers what to say. We don't say, we need to do this. We have a general idea, and I have people all over the world contacting through the site. We have Indigenous people, and we want to do something. We can't do anything with them. I have a local church I'm building a relationship with. We're talking about going down and maybe trying something with a Native American here in Florida. And I kind of want to have a little course together, and it's very fun, simple to make. And we only do it once a year for now, but yeah, I don't know if I answered the question. Okay. If you have something else you want to like bring it to it, but it's not so much the focus of the training, but just an opportunity to help structure the values, teach them the value, why we do it this way, how do we do it, what to avoid, what not to do, don't take pictures without asking, don't bounce the babies up and down like we do, and you have to be very careful with the babies, and that's how the Indigenous are, and just kind of like a lot of orientation. It's too much information organized in a way, spread out over a longer period of time so they can take in the content and then they can learn something from it if they listen. If they don't, then that's too bad.
All right. Well, I want to thank you very much, Dennis, for sharing with us. Very good. I know this is kind of like your second one because you gave a little short talk, a few weeks ago. Thank you very much. I want to turn over to Grovers now for our closing song. And just remember, anybody, if you have any more questions, Dennis is available. Connections are in the chat. So, Brian and Leo.
Do our classic Gonorrhea round dance. So, get ready to dance and sing.
Yes, we never do get tired of hearing that awesome song, eh? You always have my little man dancing over here. So but yes, thank you, Dennis. Thank you very much for your wonderful share. I was over here taking some notes. So but yes, thank you, thank you. But yeah, so now we're gonna hand this over to Namar Newson for our send-off blessing. Whenever you're ready, Namar, go ahead and take it away. Hopefully he's there.
Yes, yes. Can you all hear me all right? All right, good stuff. Thank you very much, Mr. Dennis. Thank you for teaching us tonight and for really bringing to our attention the value of coming together. It is my belief that we cannot have unity if we don't have community, and that we cannot have community if we don't have unity. And that's something that I really caught from your teaching this evening. It's the importance of coming together, bringing each other together, and how that is the heart of the gospel. That's the spirit of the gospel. And that is very important for us to understand that it's okay to admit when we don't understand, because acknowledging that we don't understand is better than thinking that we do understand and then insisting that you have to follow our way of how we do this practice of spreading the gospel. So I think that your teaching tonight is a great reminder of this. And for that, I would like for us all to bless you and to bless each other. Are you all ready to join together in prayer? All right.
Go ahead, Alan.
Let's humble ourselves before the Creator. Father, Creator God, in the name of your Son, Jesus, Creator sets free, we thank you for allowing us to come together. We thank you for being reconciled to you through your Son, Creator sets free, Jesus. Creator sets free, Jesus has enabled us to have community with you and to have unity with you and to have unity and community with each other. May your Holy Spirit come forth and continue to bless Denis to teach your body of believers the significance of being together and being united, and how we can better come to an understanding of how to come together. Because when we are together, that's when we so honor you. We thank you for the teaching. We thank you for this ministry. We thank you for the good medicine way, which teaches the Jesus way. And may you continue to lead us and protect us, guide us through life and many of life's troubles, and continue to remind us that we can get through life by being joined together, by being united. For you did not create us to go through this life alone. You have created us and each other to love one another, to get through life together, so that we can show the world that you have defeated the enemy of life and that you are the breath of life. So may you go forth, continue to lead, and continue to build us so that we can grow and that we would increase in our faith like it is that of the mustard seed. Thank you. In Creator Sets Free, Jesus' name. Aho.
May it be so.
Thank you. Thank you, Namar. And also next week, we'll have a new friend of ours. He's been growing in the contextual ministry world. He's traveling with Jonathan. He went to family camp and took on some responsibilities there. Manny Mistis is going to be sharing with us. We'll check.
You gonna bring his guitar?
I told him, I said, we're going to have to really make sure that he can connect or send a video. I think that might be because sometimes the music on the screen doesn't connect really well. So, but Manny is he's a professional guitar player, and he's also getting involved in contextual ministry. So yeah, so come and join us. Got a great message. So other than that, thank you for all joining us. We love you all. And remember, this is a place for, I would say, the misfits. We're not taken serious in our ministries where we're at. People don't understand us because they don't understand what they don't understand. And we found a place here where you can be heard, your voice can be heard, you can say what's on your mind and connect with people who know where you're coming from. So we're your friends. So we love you, and come on back. Take care now.
Good night.
Thank you, Dennis. Have a good night.
Dave with the Toy Story reference there.
Yeah, thank you, David, for joining us too. Well,
Yes, thank you, Dennis. Again, thank you. It was